Welcome to the next podcast. I have a guest today, author Jamel Freeman. What's going on, Jamel?
What's up, my brother? How are you?
Man, I'm all right. How you doing today?
Good. I'm good, man. I can't complain, brother. Another day above ground is a good day. It's always a good day.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Challenges
man. I
be
totally
there.
agree.
Challenges be there, but
So
it's still gonna be there.
next podcast, we putting on a football camp May 20th and May 21st for high school showcase. We have 24/7 rivals, Virginia Prep, Prep Red Zone. Come out and see the kids, come out, support the kids, the high school kids, some high school kids in the Hampton Roads area, also some youth. Up here on the screen, you can scan the QR code to register for the camp. We're looking forward to seeing everybody out. Come out, support the kids. So, Jamel, what's going on, buddy? How you been?
Good, man. Living life on life's terms, brother. You know,
Right,
that's all.
definitely, man. We all on somebody else's time, right? We are. We definitely are.
Yeah.
So, man, let's talk about your book, man. You wrote a book
Mhm.
called "Can I Do This?"
Yes, sir.
Let's tell my viewers, give them a little bit about your background.
Um, just shortly. I mean, I wrote it in 2019. Wrote it in 38 days, 12,076 words. Wrote it in a composition book. I was actually in a rehabilitation center, which is based in Pasadena, Maryland, and yeah, I just wrote it, and based off basically, I'm just sharing my experiences, strength, and hope within that book, and but it gets really deep. Talks about some of the trauma, my resilience, and striving to overcome the trauma, the stigma, recovery. I am in recovery myself. Not afraid to admit to that. 3 years of some change now. So from alcohol, that is. Um, so that's what the book is about.
Right. So the book is about mental health, correct?
Mental health, substance abuse, and trauma slash
Right.
stigma.
Right. So let's
Hmm.
talk about, man. Let's talk about how you was raised and the environment you was raised in, and having two household parent. Your dad was in the military. Let's give us a background a little bit about your dynamics at home growing up.
So I don't know if you can show it or not, or if you've seen it yourself. So my dad is actually in that book. He was 41 years old. He was a master chief in the Navy. Uh, Served 20 years. Mother works for the FBI. She's an accountant. She's getting ready to retire, 35 years. And so yeah, the background of the family and just everything and how everything went and how everything you would it just wasn't your normal society norm growing up. And what I mean by that is what went on in the house. You know, as you know, I lived in Greenbrier. When I knew you, I mean, I'm from Jersey, but ghetto out there, whatever. But then, like my dad, he moved out there because he didn't want to raise us out there. And but you know, outside of the house, I mean, everything looked all good. You got the white picket fence, the dog, the cat. I mean, we didn't have no dog, no cat, but but they lived in the cul-de-sac and the whole nine. But you didn't know what was going on inside that house, man.
Right, man. And I always say, Indian River, we had kind of the best of both worlds, right? When you
Hmm.
look at all the Chesapeake schools, when you probably look in Hampton Roads in general, right? We
Hmm.
probably had more of a correlation of what the real world looked like because we had people that was from, the projects or government housing, and then we had Greenbrier, and border of Chesapeake, Virginia Beach.
Hmm.
Some parents is doctors, doctors and lawyers, and then some parents, was on government assistance. So I like to say all the time, we kind of had a mixture of the real world, what was going on.
Right. Sorry, man. I'm moving around, man. I just looked at my computer, man, and it's about to die. So my
Yeah,
bad.
that's okay. Yeah, definitely. So your dad was in the military for how long?
20 years.
20 years. And what did your mom do?
I mean, of course, like she was a stay-at-home mom for a while. She had little ins and outs jobs here and there. I mean, I don't. I mean, then I knew it was a transition when she was starting to go to school, but I didn't really like know what she had going on because like it is, man. I'm in high school, man. I'm chasing girls, playing sports. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, who I wanted to hang out with, try to get that name out there, be popular, all that. So, and then plus I had a little sister, little brother too, So it's just again, it was just you're young, man. You're going through the motions,
Right,
you know.
right. I totally agree. And let's talk about the dynamics, the situation with your dad after you graduated from high school. Tell the viewers what happened with your dad.
Well, after graduating from high school,
Right.
um, I mean, of course, like my mom, she left because of my dad, his verbal abuse, physical abuse. She couldn't take it. She up and bounced, and so I went ahead and I didn't want to go at the time because she moved to Tallwood. I didn't want to go because at that time I had a girl. I wasn't trying to leave her, not leave her up to those some of those cats in high school.
Those vultures
Yes,
that we
boy.
went to high school with.
Great. Yes. Oh, oh, oh. So yeah, I couldn't leave her when I was prey. So so and they probably like wonder like why are they laughing? Why is that so funny? Well, y'all don't know.
Right.
If
Right.
you
We have some vultures in there. We
yeah, we
definitely
had
did.
some vultures, boy.
Right.
Yeah, survival of the fittest. But yeah, I mean, he left and no, my mom left. I'm sorry. And I didn't want to go. I stayed with him. And it's just like I got to see him in his active addiction. I remember one time my dad was actually he was in, he locked himself in the bathroom. I didn't know what he was doing. And I knew he had, I'm trying to remember, and it's only, sporadically what I can remember. But the one part I do remember is knocking on the door, banging on it. And I was like, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? Dad, let me in, let me in. And at this time, my mom had already left. She took all the, she took everything. She left us with left us with a television. This is in Greenbrier, bro. Nobody didn't know I was going through this.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And by the time he let me in, I kept banging and finally let me in. He had a big bottle, the big belly joint, big bottle of White Irish Rose, and he said, "This is how I handle my problems." And I said, "Can I get the bottle?" And he gave it to me. He's crying. He's bawling. Here it is, man. I'm young, man. I'm no kid in high school need to be seeing nothing like that.
Right.
Let alone
Right.
all the abuse and everything. Because you got to think, like when I was growing up and television, because we were around the same age, you thinking like you seeing like what, Family Matters, Little House of the Prairie, all that other. I'm thinking, man, this is what life is supposed to be like. Like I'm supposed to have me a car. I'm expecting to have a car at 16. With the come outside with the ribbon on top. I don't know if you ever thought like that, but that's how I was seeing life.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah, man.
mean?
I think, and that's that same notion, man. I remember a couple of years ago. You remember Terrell Owens had a TV show on, and he was going through some dynamics with his girlfriend at the time, and I can
Mhm.
remember the conversation where he was saying, how he thought a man was supposed to be in a relationship,
Mhm.
and what he saw growing up was, men, with 2 or 3 different women and 2 or 3 different, baby mamas per se. I hate that word, but and
You like me.
right, right, and a lot of guys don't know the dynamics or what a man and a husband, I should say, supposed to be in a relationship because we don't
Mhm.
really see it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, but go ahead.
Go ahead. What do you mean?
Go ahead, finish. You was talking. I just
Nah, you good, man. I mean, it's just you know, that happened, and then finally it just got to that point. I went ahead and went to Tallwood, and of course, because I miss my mother and everything like that, and my sister and my brother and everything, and and see, here's the crazy thing: like when she moved all the stuff out, like I came home, I had to play stupid, like I had to act like I didn't know she was moving. So I played dumb, like I didn't. Was like, oh, I don't know, pops, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
right.
So then finally, I went over there to Tallwood. I think I went over there for like a semester or two or something like that. But anyway, I mean, then after that, just life just started happening. Life started happening. Finally, I finally did graduate. I didn't graduate with you guys, but I did graduate. Ended up that summer. I did graduate that summer. So I did graduate '97 with my class, and but again, man, like kind of one of those things, man. I kind of fell off the earth, kind of like fell off the earth. The people I was hanging with, the things I was doing, still trying to figure out with me. I mean, still felt like, and as an adult, to still have a job, still like, went to college, different things like that. And I think like when I got my second DUI or whatever, I got it in Virginia Beach, and my dad had already moved. I got a little brother that's like the same. He's the same age as my son now. Like my dad ended up having another kid with another woman, which was actually one of my mom's best friends. Well, he didn't have a kid with her, but he had relations with her, but he had relations with another woman. So, but again, it's like this, man. My dad didn't know how to be a father to me because his father didn't know how to be a father to him, with him. That's just what it boiled down to. Now that I'm like seeing it, now that I've come to the realization, now that I've opened up, I've accepted, because that's one of the things that I think us, and you don't even have to be in recovery for this, man. Once you start accepting life, what you've been through, where you're at now, where you're going, with the things that have happened along the way, once you come in grips with all that, it starts to, the difference. Kind of like it's that serenity prayer is powerful. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. And I have no more resentment, towards him anymore. I had for a long time, bro. I'll be 45 this year. Still look good though. We still look good, bro. We still look good. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
but yeah, man. Now that I've accepted it, I forgive him, and now I'm just moving on right now. And my book just really just talks about that whole thing. So,
Right, you got to be able to move on, man. I think a lot of times some people think forgiveness is for the other person, but I think a lot of times it's for you. It's not for the other person.
mm-hmm,
I kind of went through some similar stuff with my dad. And just being able to actually tell him how you feel, right? About
mm-hmm,
the and like you said, I don't think he didn't know. He didn't know how to be a father. He didn't know how to be a dad, a husband,
mm-hmm,
because he was given up for adoption. So he really wasn't didn't even really know his other side of the family, right? So, growing up, when you get a little older, you understand, then um and but as a child, you don't know that. All you know is he's not here, right? And that's, I think that goes on a little too much in the Black community. And I
mm-hmm,
think, and I think a lot of times, man, not even talking about those type of situations, I think a lot of times, the adults get in the way, right? You had a child with someone, you married or not married, and it don't work. I don't really care how it started. If you was married and you divorced, you're not with them, right? Or if you had them out of wedlock, as they like to say, you still not with them, right? And so you both not living under the same roof. And a lot of times I feel like the adults get in the way, and everybody got their agenda, Some people still feeling hurt by the relationship, and they trying to hurt the other parent, but they don't realize only person they hurting is the child more so than
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I think that's something that need to be talked about a lot more in the community, and
Mm-hmm.
stop pointing the fingers at who fault it is and do this and do that. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, the as a parent, your obligations is to the kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? It ain't to the other parent, it's to the kid. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I totally get it. I understand, that whole dynamics of, we kind of talked about it offline some, where I feel like a lot of, and I'm sure it goes on in other cultures too, but about in the black culture, when you look at the single family household is high, right? And a lot of times, that man is not even in their life, right? In the kid's life. And nor are they trying to be. Um, and that's a problem in itself, right? Because you sit down and have a child, that child didn't ask to come in this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that, you need to be a man enough to sit there and, be there for that kid. You don't have to be in a relationship with the parent, with his
Right.
mom, right? If you tried it and it's not working, then okay, man up and be a man and take care of your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
I
I
totally.
mean, and just being like one who, because I do a lot with the adolescents out here in Maryland, and like, and just seeing it, like now, I just think we're just at a situation where it's like a lot of it's babies having babies now, man. You know what I'm saying? And just like you just said, and not just to like, not just to even stay on us, but yeah, the rate is high. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I mean, but then too, like, I mean, it kind of goes like, so I read this, and we were talking about this earlier, but I'm not going to get into it. But I read this in a book, and no, and it actually goes back to, I want to say it kind of goes back to where when they started talking about like the laws in regards to like, so I know like back then, like when you in Ford, you didn't have to have like a you didn't have to have a college education when you were working at Ford back then. Two hands, 2 feet, labor, you went there like swimwear, right?
Right.
Now, but like as and even in the African American community where that shift came, and I'll definitely so that way, because I like I said again, I don't want to like I don't want to put false information out there, but it was a law in effect where it came in. I just can't. I don't know why the Declaration of Proclamation. I don't know why that keeps coming to my head when I think about it, but it was talking about how so like a lot of African Americans, like men, they didn't have degrees and everything like that. So then that's where that shift came, and that's where the drugs, the street drugs, the crack, and all like that. So then, like that, like here it is, our manhood is being taken, like because we can't provide for our families no more. And then now we're not even feeling like we feeling less of a man. But then however it is, like here it is, you see it, other cultures, Caucasian, primarily the majority of, and a lot of them going to school because of like, and they having an opportunity for that because maybe their parents would be able to pay or without scholarships. So they was able to get, that piece of paper to back up their actions or their knowledge or their qualifications. And so yeah, I mean, to be honest, like when we talk about it, man, this thing it goes back, man. It's so deep, but a lot of us don't even know our own past. But again, like I said, dealing with the adolescents to this day, man, is just they're angry. They angry. You think about look, it's funny, man. Look, I was on Instagram the other day, and remember Ghostface, right?
Right.
Ghostface was he was doing an interview. I think it's called VSGENT. You know about that? They're
Nah.
on Instagram. They do
Nah.
they've been doing a lot. They do a lot of. I don't know if it's a new platform or a new interview plot. Check it out. It's on Instagram. But anyway, But check out my man Pook. Stay on Pook's team. Next. So I ain't trying to promote nobody else. But stay on my man though. But no, what I'm saying is no. So man, he said some deep stuff, bro. And I have to send it. He said, man, today these kids, man, they have no spiritual guidance. This coming from Ghostface. He's like, they have no spiritual guide. Like it's like these kids these days, they're not scared of anything. And it's true. Think about it, bro. You see how they be acting like, when me and you were growing up and all like that, like, we respect our elders and still, you still call Mr. Fry, Mr. Fry, like you still addressing him. We know to open the door. Like when we was in the hallway, like maybe we'll cuss around our friends, but when the teachers or somebody else, I mean, even to this day now, like we're not doing that. That's disrespect. But now, like they're right. There's no spiritual guidance. And for some of these kids, like they don't know, man. They don't. But then you got to look at it. They got all these negative, and this is for the black kids, the white kids, the Asian, Filipino, whoever, Indian, indigenous, whatever. They have all these challenges. They got the weed, the alcohol, the sex, the drugs, knowing who they are as a person, like their own identity. And I think that's where a lot of individuals are getting lost in. They get lost because they don't even know who they are. And they steady trying to be like somebody else. And if they can't be able to hold it up to somebody else, then that's where they lose their self-identity of who they are as a person, whether that be a male or female. And please don't send any comments. We talking about transgender and all that. This ain't what this is about.
Right.
I'm just saying,
right,
what these children are facing again, and it all boils down to what I was just saying, bro. They're mad. There's no guidance. There's no guidance at all, and there's no spiritual guidance on top of that.
Right, I agree, man. But it started at home, right?
Yeah.
And I think where we see the difference at today, when it comes to comparing them to us, social media, right? And having everything at their hands at the snap of I was having this conversation the other day with my son. We was talking about video games, and when video games started to come around, I was like, I remember Nintendo, Atari, Sega Genesis, but we didn't sit in the house all day and play video games. We was outside.
Right.
And I think though it started at home, and the problem is we have so many kids having kids, right? And it kind of go back to what we were saying about about the single family home, right?
Mhm.
And so you have so many people that's so many relationships. Again, I don't care if they was married or and got divorced, or if they was dating and then broke up. Either way, they ain't together. So that whole notion, that wedlock notion, or somebody raising, a single parent raising somebody, and people looking at them, sideways because they a single parent. You could have been married and got divorced, and you raising a kid by yourself. What difference it make? You still by yourself raising a kid. And I think that's a part of the problem, because these kids have way more resources than we had, right? You're talking
Mhm.
about, churches. You're talking about, another thing that I think is not the best these days is schools, the teachers, right?
Mhm.
Back in the day, we had teachers that actually really cared, right? And I can remember when I was at Broadlawn. I mean, when I was growing up in Broadlawn, and I went to Carver Elementary, or
Mhm.
intermediate it was, and Miss Joyner. We know both her kids, Ronnie and Jew Joyner, right? I remember walking in the class, and she was my fifth or sixth grade teacher. I can't remember what grade, and she made me sit right next to her. Oh, now you gonna sit right here. Yeah, and you can do everything you're supposed to do, and I don't want to hear nothing. I'm like, okay, like I just sit there. I mean, I wasn't no troublemaker anyway, but just to know is almost like that extension of your parents when you go in school, and you have somebody that you look at as a mother figure, right? And like Mr. Fry, you said Mr. Fry earlier. I mean, how many people love Mr. Fry,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Oh, what was his name? Joe Clark.
Joe Clark. from Joe Clark.
From Lean on Me.
Mr. Fry was the Joe Clark. It's funny, man. A couple years ago, when I first seen Jay Farrell, it was on Saturday Night Live, and I didn't know who Jay was, and I was watching him do Principal Fry, and I'm like, hold on. And he was doing everything at the shirt, the jacket on his shoulder with one arm out, walk around, and then he started
Did he have the
stuttering.
microphone? Did he have the did he have
No,
the
no, no, no. He was Jay was on Saturday Night Live, so he started stuttering. And somebody said Principal Fry, so I'm like Principal Fry, and everything he was doing was Mr. Fry. And then I went on Facebook, and people was talking about it, and that's how I found out who Jay was, and he had went to Indian River. And it was the funniest thing. But if you know Mr. Fry, you love him, right? And I
right,
just don't think right now we have the same thing in our schools. So we first start at home, and the kids ain't getting that type of attention at home and that type of schooling at home. I don't care if you single family or not. I mean, being courteous and being respectful to your elders is a must, right? It's like you said. I still call Mr. Fry, or whoever that is older than me. I don't call them by their name. I call them Mister whatever, right?
or don't
Unless they
say
just
or don't say it's one of those things as kids out here that's saying now, boy, I can't stand it. I mean, it's even to the point, man. I even notice grown women saying it now, and I'm just like, you ever heard it? They say, "Bruh,
right, 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 right,
yo."
right.
I had a girl.
Don't even answer because you ain't talking to me. Don't even answer
I had a woman say that to
unless you
me.
one of my boys and we talking. But if you're a child, you ain't talking to me.
Right, but it's so even crazy. I even had a woman say this to me. I
But
said,
I think too, man, that's a part of the problem. Like as I think a lot of people, when you look at the dynamics of home, especially, let's be real, most women are the ones that stuck home when you talk about single
right,
family, when
right,
right? And every now and then you see it with a man, but most of the women are the one there. And I think a lot of times the women are trying to contemplate because the man is not there and they more of a friend than a parent to their child, right?
hmm
And having the dynamics of the husband not being there or the father not being there, and they trying to find they feel bad, and
right.
so now they try to be their friend as opposed to their parent.
No, I mean you're totally right. I mean, I come from a single family home. My mother took care of three of us, so I know like the struggle. I've seen up crying. I've seen it all, man.
Right,
And I mean, to be honest with you, my mother. And after I've told her this, and I always tell her this, like I look up to her. I mean, that's she's a role model for me. My mother is.
right. She
Seeing
should be.
this black African American woman work her behind all and still keep going. And she told me like she's dealt with racism in plenty of workplaces. She just like you treat them with. She always tell me, Jamel, treat them with kindness, or you don't have to call a person the A word, the AH word. You can. I know your thing. I don't know if your thing is PG clean or what, brother. So that's
Oh,
my.
you can, no, we good. You can say whatever you want.
All right. Well, she said you don't have to call a person an asshole
Right, right,
without making them look like one. So I mean, just as her professionalism is to see how she came up, man, is just like I commend her for that, man. And just, but still, at the end of the day, it does start with the men, and and if you're gonna lay down, take
right,
care of your babies, man.
right, right,
Regardless if you're not gonna be. And yeah, like I get it. There's women out there who use the children against you and all this and all that. But the purpose of my book was to let it's to let individuals know. Like I said, it ain't for the fame and all this and all that. Like all that's gonna come. It's gonna take care of itself because when you're doing the good man's work, he take care of his people and he puts certain people in certain platforms to help get out the message. Um, and I mean that's basically what we're doing here. You know, um, me and we went to school with each other. We didn't know each other went through the same.
right,
And then
right,
like And there's so many similarities here, but like also we letting our past mess be our message today, and that's what I'm doing in my book. Like just like I got another book I'm starting on. That's called The Transition. That's a little bit more deep. I get a little bit gritty. I get real gritty in that one. It's gonna be longer too, but it just but yeah, man, it's just to help them. And I see these young kids, they hurt. You can see the pain in their eyes, man, when I'm looking at them. I see it. I feel for them because I know I was just talking to this one of my friends the other night, and she just couldn't understand why her daughter was the way she was, and how these mood swings she's going through, and talking about like she was mad because her daughter was mad at her because she's not with the father.
Right.
And I said, you don't know what they're seeing at school. Like she's probably seeing her friends being picked up by their dads. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dad seeing them, hey baby, giving her a hug. You're not seeing that.
Right.
She's not coming home to tell you about it because she's angry. And she's only dealing with, and the only reason why I know that because I felt that way. My dad, you know, even though I played ball for Indian River and I played rec center ball, my dad he was never at not one of my games, bro. Like not one. My mother was at all of them. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times he was on deployment. He was. But then even when they were divorced, like, and they weren't together, like, he wasn't there. So I know, and I would sit up there and we would go to like River, and you know, and the bleachers packed and everybody, and we go to Indian River Rec, and you remember how they'd be all packed. My dad wasn't there, man. So I know what it's like. So here it is. You got a single mom, my mom here. You know, I can't count her. I know she gonna be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or if she got off work, she'll make sure she was there. So all that pain and everything that I felt like there was a lot of that stuff, like a lot of, I don't know, when I went to that rehab, man, I really dealt with myself. Kind of like with that pressure bust pipes thing.
Correct.
I let a lot of stuff out, but when you don't let it out, all that pressure do build up. And like what you seeing with these young kids now, and they're letting it out, and letting it out is smoking, popping pills, doing stupid stuff. Because then at the end of the day, when they sober up and that judge dropped that gallon, it's too late, bro.
It's
You
too
gotta,
late.
hey, I gotta get that 20. Let me get that. I gotta
It,
get that out of you.
right. It's too late, man. And it's so funny, man, because, you know, you always want better for your kids, right? And that's something I struggle with my oldest son, right? Because
How old is he?
he 15, right? So he see where we live at now. He don't know where I come from, or every now and then I take him through the neighborhood and he talk about, you know, how oh, you been mean or this. I like, look, let me drop you off in Broadline for a day. Let me see if you can make it. I don't think you can make it. And you know, and it's just different, right? And it's just, you know, trying to show them and teach them to appreciate stuff more, right? Because it could be taken from you at any time. And I didn't grow up the way you grew up, right? So I shared a room with my sisters, right? So my mom was a single mom. So I mean, you've been over here, like, I mean, it's night and day, right? And like you said, I mean, I had a single mom, two sisters, working two jobs at time to doing what she had to do, make sure, you know, we had food on the table, make sure I get the whatever game or whatever sport I was playing at the time. Um, so I totally definitely understand.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, man. It's tough, man. You know, talking about, you know, being a single mother. I think when you're talking about mothers, I think they got the hardest job in the world, right?
Right,
Even if they together, right? Because you know, you know, especially back then, the guy was going to work, and you know, the mom was normally staying home, not working, raising the kids, but that was a job in itself, right?
right,
But and now in the day, the dynamics has changed, and the man is not in the house, and she still now she got to raise them and work one or two jobs, right? And it was the same back then too, but you starting to see it a little bit more now, and now with social media and just so many things that the kids can get into, it ain't like how it was when we was growing up.
No, it's not. But again, like you said, again at the end of the day, and then like even like with the teachers, to say like at the schools, because like I said, I remember you remember Miss McNeil.
That was my oh yeah. I think we was in the class together with Miss
Yeah, we
McNeil.
was.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
remember her,
Yeah.
and just like you said, again, it's like, and then like you got some of the teachers that are biased,
Right. Right.
you know, but then also too, you got like what the television portrays us as African American black men. At the end of the day, like they don't show brothers like you where you live at and what you do, taking your son to practice, picking him up from school, or just having that like roundabout talk, or me just getting up every day, talking to my children on the phone, even though like my daughter, she's at Longwood University, and I was just sitting up there talking to her. And so she's getting ready to go to George Mason because she wants to transfer out there now. But I'm, telling her and I'm encouraging her, you got this, babe. Daddy's
Right.
gonna pray for you. Like it's like you don't show that other side of us. Like you don't, we don't exist like that, and it's sad. And I wish some people would just, and even not just the teachers, any and everybody who don't know or who don't even interact with our culture, I challenge you to get to know. I'm not a threat. We
Right.
not threats. Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like and it's just like, but then also too, like, and if we are like a black man who is an addict or an alcoholic, hashtag we do recover. I'm
Right.
a 4.0 student, you know? I wrote a book. I'm getting ready to do another. My man, like you, played for the NFL, high school star. Now you doing other things. You giving back. You starting your nonprofit next and helping others. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I agree, man. But I also agree, and too, I feel like there's a lot of things where we could be a lot better. It could be
Yeah,
a
you're
lot
right.
more stuff could be done. It's just, and that's a whole nother conversation. And I'm
Hey,
trying
look,
not to go. I'm
like,
trying to stay off that conversation right before I
all right,
talk because I don't want to
I
be.
feel you,
But
dog. I
but no,
feel
we
you.
we good. We good. We can go as long as we want to go. So, but it's just another conversation, man. And it's like I had this conversation in a barbershop. I come, I barbershop talk, and my barber, he's great at what he do, and he just and it's just straight barbershop talk, right? And it's nobody care until we start caring, right? And it's funny. It's actually sad to me because we grew up again talking about Indian River. We was just talking about Miss McNeil and teachers. Like all the teachers in that school to me was was great, no matter white, black,
Yeah,
blue, or green,
yeah, they
right?
were.
Miss Edmonds, I love her to death,
Oh
right?
my God.
Like, and
Well, I
for
remember her too.
Miss
Wow, Lord,
McNeil, right?
mm-hmm,
Miss Ward, right? Like just in general, right? Everybody was good, right?
mm-hmm,
And they wanted the best out of of us as students.
right.
But I feel like a lot of times we stay we when I say we, I mean, us as black people, African Americans, like we gotta start expecting more for ourselves than other people, right?
Mm-hmm,
So and when why I say that is like, you look at all of these one-offs with cops or something happened where a cop kill a black man, um, and we get uproar, right? Everybody want to come and riot. But I don't see the same energy when you turn on the TV and
mm-hmm,
you look at what's going on in Chicago, in
mm-hmm,
DC, in Philadelphia, in
yeah,
Baltimore, how the
right,
black crime
right.
is off the charts.
Yeah, it is.
But how about we go put the same energy in those developments in those neighborhoods and take care, we got to take care of each other. We got to take care of home first, right? We can't expect nobody else to come in here and take care of home if we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I kind of, because, listen, I can't recall, and this probably because of just my background. I can't recall, and I had this conversation with my wife, having personally dealt with to my face a racist comment from anyone. And probably because from the time I was 7 years old, I played sports and I was good. And what they say about sports, that's the common denominator that brings people together, right? When you go back and you look at when you go back and look at the movie with Denzel, Remember the Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I look at everything, right? It's not black and white. I don't look at black and white. And it kind of upset me when people do because you humans, it don't matter. It shouldn't matter if you
Mm-hmm.
black or white. That shouldn't be the first thing that somebody say. I'm in a group chat with some friends and we was talking about we be talking about sports and everybody played in the league or college. And we talk about sports and the Lamar Jackson thing come up. Well, if he was a if he was white, he would already been signed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, listen, I like Lamar as a player, but Lamar, in my opinion, is not an elite quarterback. And
Mm-hmm.
I say that because when he can drop back and throw the ball consistently, then he elite because that's what he get paid to do, quarterback, right? I mean, he just got a exceptional talent because he's talented and he an athlete, he can run, but he get paid to throw the ball. So as a receiver, why would I want to go there? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I'm a receiver like Terrell Owens, let's say, right? Or AB
Mm-hmm.
or like Odell. They want the ball. They ain't there to
Mm-hmm.
block. They there to catch passes.
Right.
So, if you're not elite if you can't throw the ball. So why would I pay you that type of money? But in our group chat, it goes to, well, if he was white, he would have got his money. Well, I agree and disagree because we've seen a lot of white quarterbacks where they don't get the money when it's equal comparisons, not just because they're white and black. When it's equal comparisons, is not is in my opinion. I mean, look at Geno Smith last year. No, everybody counted Geno Smith out. And now
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, Geno Smith been working on his game. And you can tell Geno been working on his game. So now Geno looked like a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he been in the league damn near 12, 13 years. He was
Mm-hmm.
a first round draft pick, but nobody even knew Geno or where he played at last year and before the season started.
So, Paul, I just to just to add to what you were saying, like those men in the group chat. So I think, and we talked about this before. So yeah, I've been through that racism. My
Right,
own,
right.
my children's grandfather, because my children are mixed. Um, he called me the N word before, you know, and I think a lot of those gentlemen, or some of those gentlemen in your group chat, they're going off experience. So, and it's probably off experience. They've probably, or somehow, if somebody hasn't called them that, or may have treated them a certain type of way. People always like people. They give off clues. You just got to pay attention to how they move and the things they say, and you just got to ask them because sometimes they'll do it and you wouldn't even know it. And but again, like yeah, I could have, and that stuck with me for a long time because I'm not even gonna lie. Like I seen Caucasian, especially Caucasian men. I would like. I always associated that stigma I went through with their grandfather. It was always in the back of my head. It was always, but then also like my mother, Mama Dukes, you know, look, just because you don't got to trade evil for evil, but it took some time for me to get to that point. But then still, like, and I mean, I deal with it a little bit here and there. I see it, but I don't let that. And I feel like this, like anyone, no one can make you mad but yourself.
Right.
You can't let nobody, and just like someone, and like you said, like that brother you was talking about, the very first one, and how some of the stuff he been doing, some of the stuff, man, we do put on ourselves, and how we act on social media. We get up there, we act all retarded and crazy and ghetto. I mean, I'm gonna just call it like it is.
Call it.
Like, you
Call
know
it.
what I'm saying? But then how are we supposed to be respected when we doing stuff like this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of like one of those catch-22s, because a lot of, like you were saying about the time with the brother who got shot and he put his hands in the cop car
Right.
and did all that. Like, you don't do that. I mean,
But
this ain't even got to be a black and white thing. You just don't do it. And then, granted, like, who would have knew? Like, we're not in a situation to say, well, what if that would have happened to a white man if he would have did it? Well, it's kind of hard to sit up there and talk about something that hasn't even happened yet. Let's
right.
just let's stay in the now. Let's accept it for what it is right now. And what are we going to do? Back to the serenity prayer. What are we going to do to change it? What
Correct.
are you doing within your own community?
Right.
What are you putting together something to help those brothers and sisters out there in Chicago and everything? And that's just like with me right now. I love the youth. I'm doing stuff out here. I'm doing, I just joined the board, which is a transitional house for women in recovery, but them and their children, because they're coming from domestic violence, called Andrea's House. So yeah, man, it's man, yeah, man, we're gonna have to do a barbershop talk, bro.
We're gonna do a barbershop talk.
Yeah, you're
Definitely.
gonna have to invite me for that. You have
It's
to
gonna be
invite me for that, man, because
it's,
I'm gonna be ready, man.
it's
I'm
gonna be
be ready.
a cigar talk. So let's let's talk about, man, you and your, what was the lowest, your lowest part of, I don't even know what to call it, but what, rock
Lowest.
bottom? When did you realize you hit rock bottom in your struggles with addiction?
All right, so I mean, a lot of people didn't notice. Like, so I went to prison. I went to prison for like 5 years. That was my fourth DUI. Because in Virginia they don't play that.
I don't play with that. Right.
Nah, that Commonwealth, no sir. So if
Right.
any of y'all hearing this, do not play in Commonwealth. They don't play, but don't play with the law, period.
Don't
But
play it, period. I agree.
yeah,
Totally
don't
right.
play with them, period. But I
Right.
went to Actually, I got sent to Red Onion. That's a level 8. That's out there in Nashville, Tennessee. I was there when the DC sniper was there. That prison sits down in the middle. There's nothing but mountains around it. And ain't no way you getting out of there. No way in the hell. I'm
I'm
serious,
sure
bro.
somebody done tried.
I'm serious, bro. But a lot of people, they're gonna find this, because a lot of people don't know this. They didn't know this about me, and they didn't know this happened, because I don't go around wearing it on my damn shoulders.
Right.
It ain't paying me.
Right.
So, but like I said again, I use my past message, my message today, to help the other people. But you would have thought when I went to prison that would have been my rock bottom. It wasn't. I met a dude from Newport News. His name was Money. He had got a DUI too. He got 20 years.
20 years for a DUI?
Yeah, it's a manslaughter. He killed somebody.
Oh, he killed somebody. Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, he killed somebody. So they gave him 20 years. Man, I used to walk that yard every day with that man. And that man crying on my shoulder, man, because he had to watch his son grow up behind those bars. I mean, the way that prison is set up, man, it's set up like a kennel. It looks like a kennel. Literally looks like a kennel. And that's all the dudes. They just sit there and just walk back and forth, pace back and forth in this little narrow cage. It's a 23-1. It's ran by inmate, because here it is. I was in Chesapeake City Jail. I'm getting, because when you go up the road, they don't tell you. Jamel, pack it up. You're going up the road, boy. You're going up the road. Pack it up. So I didn't know where I was going.
Right.
And then
You found out when you get there.
Yeah, by the time I said, man, what the hell am I doing at a level 8, man? I got a driving and a possession truck. What am I doing out here? But that prison is ran by inmates. So, like, I started off in the dish room, 35 cents an hour, and then I became a baker. So, boy, I'm balling at this point. Boy, I'm making about 70 cents an hour. Boy, I'm balling. So I thought I was doing something. But anyway, man, you would have thought that. So I came home, did the halfway house thing, just like Michael Vick. Did the halfway. I ain't going to do a federal, but I went to a halfway house in Chesapeake, Virginia. And you would have thought that would have woke me up. Then that, and then like I moved. I met this girl from up here, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, I came up here, but I had I still was dealing with Jamel. I was still dealing with an addiction that I did not even think I had. I didn't have no support system. I was like that zebra when that you ever seen that Animal Planet or Animal Jungle where it shows the actual lion going after the zebra, but you always notice he always goes to the zebra that's by itself. He never goes to the one that's in the pack. And that's how the enemy is. And I call the enemy out here the drug, the alcohol, the sex, or whatever it is that does not give the best version of you. It goes after you when you're by yourself. And I came out here not knowing nobody. The girl I moved out here with, I thought we was going to get married, blah blah blah, all this all. And just again, I'm still some unresolved issues within me I did not know I had. So, make a long story short, brother, got into a car accident, 25 fractured bones in my face, 3 facial surgeries. That was my rock bottom. I thought going to prison, I thought that was it. I really thought that was. But this right here, because you gotta think, man, I could have been like my homeboy Money. I could have killed because I was drunk when this happened. So I could have killed somebody.
Right.
Or I could have killed myself.
Or yourself, right? Right.
Yeah, and I would have left my children
Or
fatherless.
both. Or both of y'all could have died.
Yeah, but you know,
Right.
so that was my wake up call, Pook. I never looked back since then, man. I mean, you know, I take it one day at a time, bro. Like this thing is real. I've had friends in recovery who's got more time than me, relapse. Like it's whatever unresolved issues, and mostly why do people use anyway? Because there's another friend of mine. She thought like one time I was talking to her on Zoom, and she started to drink her little wine. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you acting like that?"
Right.
I'm like, you acting like I got. I mean, you act like this is like chicken pox to me or something. Like,
I understand. I understand where she coming from because like if you around somebody that have a drug problem, using weed, why would you come in smoking weed, right?
well,
Or a drinking problem, but you invite them over and everybody drinking.
but like I told her, I said, look, let me tell you a little thing about with this addiction thing. What I'm learning, because this is what I'm going to school for, and everything with the whole personality, mental health disorder. It ain't about that. Like everybody uses for different reasons. It just depends on that person. Once we, as a society, once we change our attitude towards this health issue, because that's what it is, then you'll get a better concept and understanding of why people that I said, look, it's not like one of those ones like you have that in there. I'm gonna eventually go drink it. No, it's not like that. I said the reason why I drink is because of not to feel.
Right.
I didn't want to feel. I felt number one. I felt like even in high school, I felt like a failure. Felt like nobody liked me. I had all these feels, man. Like this was a feeling. This ain't had nothing. My dad wasn't there. I was in a broken home. These were reasons why I did what it was a lot of anger there. All these other kids look like they got it good. They got fresh clothes, fresh sneakers, all that. You know what I mean? Just all that stuff. Like I'm looking at all that. That was just all that coming at. So I had to tell her. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah. And,
Right.
and she was a nurse. So, that's just to let you know, man, there's just so much that needs to be learned in this. And that's why, like I said, with the whole book, like coming to the mind of a person who's, what's so crazy? I just let my academic advisor read my book. And he's a kind of like big guy. And I never would have thought about this, but he told me he struggled with overeating. That was his addiction.
Right.
He went to food for comfort. Man, you made it so relatable in this book, how you can just the choices and just like you know what I mean? Like he said, man, it was like I was sitting there, like I knew what you were thinking. I felt you. Now here it is, and he's a Caucasian man. I would have never thought that. But again, that goes back to like we were talking about. You never know what somebody else is going through. That's why when I check in with my children, I ask them every day, and they'll tell you this. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's your mind? How's your body? How's your spirit? They give me good. I'm like, no, you got to give me better than that. Elaborate
Right.
to get them to. And I know that I went a little bit overboard with that, brother, but
No,
just
you good, man. No, it ain't overboard. I mean, like you said, man, a lot of people struggle with some type of addiction, from, sex, drugs, like depression, like whatever it is, right?
mm,
Whatever their comfort is, and I think people can relate
yeah,
on different levels. But again, like you said, and that's kind of, I don't know, man. The whole like just in general, where just when people, like you just said, well, I let my advisor read it. Middle overweight Caucasian guy who would have known that he could relate to me, right? And I think for me, and I think, and I might be a little different. And sometimes I gotta like think about stuff before I say it, right? Because, and I was told this before, like from a friend. It was like, you grew up totally different. I'm like, what do you mean? It was like, you was always the kid that everybody looked at that would be successful because of your sports background and because how good you were in sports. So everybody always gravitated to you, black, white, blue, or green. And then you had a great personality and you was a good person, right? So everybody wanted to see you do good. And a lot of times I think when I speak about stuff like race and just dealing with those issues where I never done it to my face, at least, um, that's kind of, you know, to me where I think the world should be in general, right? Like, let's get mad. And I had this conversation with my wife a couple weeks ago, and we was talking about the same thing, right? And I was about the cops killing and the one-offs every now and then, and one is one too many, right? But and again, when we see it from as a Caucasian person on the other side of that gun, the reaction. And then I said something to my wife a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I don't see that rage when that just happened in Memphis. You heard about it for a day or two, but it was 5 black officers that killed a black young man. And we didn't see the same rage. And we didn't see the rioting at the same level we saw it at some of the other situations. Give me the same energy, regardless if it's white, black, or blue or green. Give me the same energy when it's when you look at stuff going on in Chicago, or you look at stuff going on in Philly, or any major city, metropolitan city, or major city in America,
mm,
right? Give the same energy, not just when it's something that you want to make it seem like. I call people that want attention. Oh, now I'm an activist because I can go and build my social media following, or I can go do this and do that, and
mhm.
feel like I'm someone. No, give the same energy regardless of what it is. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
You know what? You know what's so funny? Because what I've actually started doing now, for real, it's funny, man. It's. I was contemplating if I was even going to say it anything on this, but everybody they know me and they know I don't bite my tongue,
Right,
man. I
right.
mean, I tell people like it is, whether you want to hear it or not. I mean, because it's just like, look, if I'm lying to you, Pooh, if I'm lying to you, then I'm not being honest with
Not
you.
being honest. Right, right, right.
And I'm not being honest with your fans, my fans, or whatever. So it's one of those things where it's just like I challenge. I even this is what I do. I say, you know what? Look, a lot of times I tell like some of my people I may run into, especially the ones who sit up there and they would blame the other culture or race. I said, look, man, let me see what you're doing for yourself. How are you big? How are you picking up your other brother and sister? Are you uplifting them up? Are you what are you doing for the next man, the next woman, next sister or brother? I said because to be honest with you, I mean, and this actually goes back to slavery for real. And see, a lot of people didn't even know that because I talked to a brother about that. He didn't even know it. He didn't even know that the light skins were allowed in the house and the dark had to sit out there in the field.
What rock he live up under? How old is
Yeah, I
he?
know. I was kind of. I ain't say nothing, bro. I just let it go. I let it go. But I just
Right.
said, think about it though. Like I said, and then like and then like the girl I was moving up here, I dated with, like she did a lot with the immigrants, and she would tell me how she would work, how she would go out to these other third world countries, and how they were amongst each other. They said, yeah. It's African. He said, like, hey, don't tell my brothers and sister what I'm. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want the hate coming back, and that's just like sad. And I'm just like, honestly, like the way others is looking at, like, we doing it to ourselves. Like, we're the only ones holding each other back. That's why if I see anything, if I see a brother doing this thing, man, I'm gonna promote you, bro. Do you? Because I may need you one day. Do you, baby? I just never had. I never had that in me anyway. Like, I'm just not a hater. That's just So I guess again, like you said, bro, like the awareness is within ourselves, within our own community, to make change, you know what I mean? To
Right.
make
And
real change. Because again, take it back. That lion is only going to go when you by yourself, but when you in that pack, baby, you're strong.
right, but you gotta feel like and try to figure out, and I say this all the time, man. And you just said it. Like, I want to see all my people do good. And a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members and people that I know, um, I feel like playing sports have put me around in in circles that most people wouldn't ever be able to be in. And I feel like at times I'm the hookup, right? So if I know somebody, like for example, if I knew you was writing a book, I got some friends that's writing books or got books out, I'm gonna plug you to them, right?
Right.
Like, I don't need nothing in return. Like, oh, okay, I know, Jamel want to write a book. I got a homegirl I went to college with. She write books. Let me plug her with her, right? And no, I want nothing. Just make sure you guys, y'all link up and y'all talk about what y'all need to do. And I just don't understand the whole concept from us where we don't want to see each other do well. And I know where it come from. It come from slavery. It's the whole crabs in a barrel mentality. But at what point are we gonna change it? At what
Honestly,
at,
and this is where it changed. Like brothers like me and you, man.
at
You
what
know,
at what point are we gonna stop pointing fingers at everybody else and start pointing them back at ourselves? And like you said, man, you know, and we all do it, and we all been, like victims to it. Not necessarily victims, but we could do more, right?
mhm.
Is all we could all do more. We could do more in the community, giving back. We all can do more. I think people just get so stuck in the rat race every day from working and coming home and taking care of their families that a lot of time they don't have the time, right?
Mhm.
But at some point we got to start making time.
But then also, yeah, that too. But also too, man, you got to think of who you're talking to. Like, we like when I asked you earlier, the way you talking right now is totally how you were 10 years ago.
Right.
Me too. If there's no form of maturity, we beating a dead horse, bro. You beating a dead horse. You trying to you trying to pour new milk in the soy milk, man. Ain't nobody. That person wants to stay on that soy milk. Let them stay.
Right.
And it's and granted, yeah, like even though like yes, you've been around all that and everything, like and see here, and this is where we're different. This is where the resilience come in from my book, Story of Resilience. Everybody's got their own story.
Right.
Find your God get again, that goes back to what I was just saying. Find out who you are and what is your God-given talent.
Correct.
Find your image. We all created in our own
Own image.
image.
Right.
Poop, you had your image. This is my image. People got to find they got to find their lane, man.
Right.
They just got to find their lane. And you got people, man, who driving all across the road like they DUIs, man. They on everybody else's highway.
And to understand that my journey ain't is no better than no one else's, right? Everybody's
Mhm.
their own individual person, but
Yeah.
man, it is a lot of stuff going on in the world, and there's a lot of stuff going on with people, and a lot of times we don't even know it. Look at anybody, but the suicide rate is high, depression is high, and in the black community, I think is always been frowned upon, to
Mhm.
do counseling, talk to somebody about your issues, especially as a black man, right? It was looked at as weakness. Don't cry. All right. Why we treat our son why we treat our sons different than our daughter. If our son go out and fall in the street and scratch himself, and our daughter do the same thing, why is it a different reaction? Right?
Mhm.
I mean, we all do it. I do it. I still do it. All right, man, get up and go wash it off and go. Your daughter is gonna be different. You can go pick her up, clean
Right.
it off, make sure it's good. But why? Why is it the same? So, man,
Yeah.
definitely enjoy having you today. We got to do this again. I know we got a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about. We wanted to try to keep it straight.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. Yeah, you gotta send me. Yeah, 'cause I gotta send me that list from my Amazon too, bro. So that light,
right.
get
Right.
that light, and
Send me that, and if you guys want to purchase the book, you can scan the QR code on the picture in the middle of the screen. If it don't work, reach out to me, let me know, and we'll provide the link for you. We actually will provide the link for you anyway. I'll add it to the broadcast, so you can go and get the book. If you having issues, I know we don't want to go, but check out it on Amazon. If you having issues with it, we rather you get it than not get it.
true.
And the book is called "Can I Do This?" and I have a copy right here as well, and you can see it as well on the screen. Appreciate it, my brother.
Nah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, bro.
Definitely, man.
All right.
Until next time.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
All right, bro.
Welcome to the Pit Viper Sports Recruiting app. I have a question for you. Aren't you tired of other less talented kids getting all of the attention? Getting a football scholarship is hard. You have to understand how to make yourself attractive to coaches that are looking for that missing piece. We have a saying, the right kid with the right skills, the right grades, and the right size will get an offer when he is marketed to the right coach at the right time. Take your recruiting into your own hands and let us help. Registration is $25 for the first 200 D1 recruits. Use the QR code to register now before the slots are gone.